That piqued my curiosity. You know what? You cannot take away from them. They're incredibly savvy businesswomen. They managed to turn a scandalous tape into a massive empire, not just for Kim, but for the whole family. And you know what? They do stick.
Kim Kardashian built an empire by turning scandals into power moves, while Meghan Markle is watching her empire crumble under the weight of shady deals, arrogance, and backlash. And now Kim has pulled back the curtain on Meghan's past in a way no one expected. Could this be the moment Hollywood finally stops protecting Meghan and starts exposing her for good? When Kim Kardashian faced backlash over her shapewear line being called kimono, the world expected her to fight it off with her army of lawyers and PR experts. Instead, she shocked everyone by admitting she had made a mistake. She pulled back thousands of garments already labeled, rebranded her entire line, and showed the public that she actually listened. It was a massive financial hit, but it earned her something money can't buy: respect. People realized that while she built her fame from scandal, she knew how to pivot and turn bad press into long-term success.
For Meghan's nonsense, it's time to wake up. She's not a duchess, she's a desperate has-been clinging to fame, guys. And the more she tries to scam her way through this, the more she humiliates herself. The walls are closing in.
Meghan Markle, on the other hand, seems allergic to admitting when she's wrong. Whenever criticism comes her way, she doesn't step back or reassess. She doubles down and plays the victim card. Take her brand debacle, for instance. While she acted like everything was finalized, in reality, nothing was secure. Instead of humbly acknowledging the mess, she leaned into the image of being some sophisticated business mogul. It looked fake, staged, and desperate. Unlike Kim, who faces the storm head-on, Meghan builds a wall of denial and hopes the noise will just disappear. The difference between these two women couldn't be clearer. Kim has learned over the years that the public will forgive you if you show growth. She's calculated, she listens, and she knows when to take a loss for the bigger picture. Meghan, though, operates in what feels like her own fantasy world. She convinces herself she's always right, and in doing so, alienates not just the public, but also the powerful allies she needs to survive in Hollywood. You can see the frustration in companies like Netflix, who thought they were partnering with a professional, but instead got drama and deception. What makes this whole thing juicier is how Hollywood insiders gossip about it. Kim, Kris Jenner, and their circle reportedly tried to guide Meghan, warning her that once the public feels disrespected, they'll never let you off the hook. Meghan's response? Pure arrogance. She scoffed at advice from the very family that turned scandal into billions. That's the difference between being a hustler who understands the game and a rookie who thinks her title makes her untouchable. The truth is, Meghan's refusal to adapt makes her look less like a modern businesswoman and more like someone who stumbled into a game she doesn't know how to play. Kim, with all her controversies, has proven time and time again that she knows when to bow to public opinion and when to stand her ground. Meghan, she seems to think she can bend reality with a smile and a sob story. And honestly, people are getting tired of it. The comparison is brutal, but it's real.
However, despite stealing an official coat of arms from a Spanish town, Netflix is livid. They are absolutely furious. Why? Because she lied. She misrepresented herself and her brand, saying,
When news broke that Meghan had allegedly used a Spanish town's official coat of arms for her new brand, jaws dropped everywhere. It wasn't just a sloppy mistake. It was seen as stealing a symbol of history and pride. For a woman who constantly preaches about respect and fairness, the irony was hard to miss. The mayor of Pettis even went public, inviting Meghan to visit but making it clear they wanted her to withdraw the stolen logo. It wasn't an aggressive threat of legal action, but more of a public shaming. And it worked. The story spread fast, painting Meghan as careless and arrogant. What made it worse was her silence. Instead of addressing the issue, Meghan ignored it, hoping it would vanish into thin air. That only fueled the gossip. People started whispering. How could she not see how offensive this was? Was she really that clueless, or did she just not care? Either way, it made her look reckless. Contrast that with Kim, who once faced outrage for cultural appropriation but quickly fixed it. The Kardashians may not be saints, but they know how to survive scandals. Meghan's move, or lack of one, just showed the world she hasn't learned a thing. Behind the scenes, some say Kim used this moment to underline how far off track Meghan really is. Hollywood insiders claim Kim pointed out that the Kardashians have always walked a fine line with controversy, but they never disrespect entire cultures. Meghan, however, did just that by treating a coat of arms, a centuries-old emblem, as if it were a trendy clip art logo she could slap on her brand. To people in the industry, it screamed amateur hour. And in Hollywood, being labeled amateur is death. The scandal also exposed Meghan's obsession with appearances over substance. She wanted her brand to look luxurious, sophisticated, and tied to tradition. But instead of creating something authentic, she borrowed someone else's identity and hoped no one would notice. That gamble backfired spectacularly. The Spanish town didn't just notice, they made it international news. And that, more than anything, told people Meghan wasn't the brilliant strategist she wanted to appear as. She was cutting corners and getting caught.
And let me talk to you now about how Netflix is seeing through this. That video stunt, she didn't clear it with them. She didn't get approval. She acted as if they were partners in reality.
When Meghan dropped that glossy promotional video for her brand, she probably thought she was pulling off a power move. The video was polished, dramatic, and presented as if Netflix was fully behind her venture. The problem? She never actually cleared it with them. Insiders say executives were blindsided, sitting in meetings asking each other, did anyone sign off on this? For a company that deals with billion-dollar productions, being played like that by a so-called partner was insulting. Netflix reportedly saw it as deception, plain and simple. Meghan acted like the streaming giant was her co-pilot in this big brand launch, when in reality they hadn't given her the green light. That's the kind of stunt that makes executives furious, because it undermines their control over their own brand. And while Meghan thought she was showcasing herself as a savvy businesswoman, what she really did was confirm every whisper that she can't be trusted. You can burn bridges in Hollywood fast, and Meghan just lit a bonfire. Behind closed doors, the fallout was brutal. Rumors swirled that top Netflix leaders were questioning why they were pouring millions into deals with her and Harry, when all they seemed to deliver was drama. Meghan's credibility was already fragile, with missed deadlines and projects that fizzled. But this video stunt tipped things over the edge. Executives don't like being made to look like fools, and Meghan had done just that. Some even speculated that other streaming platforms were quietly relieved. They didn't have to deal with the chaos. The gossip in Hollywood circles was merciless. People joked that Meghan had mistaken Netflix for a personal PR firm, using their name to boost her brand without understanding the rules of the game. And while she might have gotten away with that a few years ago, this time nobody was buying it. The industry saw her as reckless, and reckless is the last thing you want to be when you're depending on streaming deals to keep your name relevant. If Netflix pulls back, Meghan's Hollywood dream could collapse in seconds. What makes this story sting even more is that Meghan's move wasn't just unprofessional, it was arrogant. She acted as if she didn't need approval, as if she was above the chain of command. That kind of behavior makes powerful people turn their backs quickly. And the truth is, if Netflix is angry, Meghan is in real trouble. This isn't a tabloid feud or a social media squabble. This is a multi-billion-dollar company that doesn't tolerate being embarrassed. Meghan thought the video would make her look unstoppable, but instead, it may have just exposed how fragile her empire really is.
Racism every 5 minutes, and let me tell you something else. Kim K and Kris Jenner actually tried to warn her. They tried to tell her, look, we've been in the game longer than you.
If there's one thing you can say about Kris Jenner and Kim Kardashian, it's that they know how to survive in the spotlight. They've taken blows, faced scandals, and still managed to come out richer and more powerful. So when they supposedly pulled Meghan aside to give her advice, that should have been a golden ticket. They told her how dangerous it is to ignore public backlash, how you have to sometimes take a hit to save the brand. But Meghan, in true diva fashion, reportedly brushed it all off with a smug reminder, I am the Duchess.
Kris Jenner actually tried to warn her. They tried to tell her, look, we've been in the game longer than you. And when the public turns on you for something like this, you need to listen. But what did Meghan do here? She laughed in their faces.
That one line says everything. Meghan seemed to think her title made her untouchable, even in Hollywood where titles mean nothing. Kris and Kim weren't speaking from theory, they were speaking from experience. They've been burned before, and they know how to recover. But Meghan's arrogance blocked her from hearing the wisdom of women who turned one scandal into an empire. Insiders whispered that Kris walked away shaking her head, realizing Meghan wasn't going to listen. And when Kris Jenner writes you off, that's a warning sign your career is headed for the ditch. Hollywood insiders love to gossip about moments like this, and the story spread fast. Meghan's dismissal of Kris and Kim's advice wasn't just arrogance, it was stupidity. These are women who understand timing, public opinion, and branding better than anyone in the game. Meghan could have learned from them, maybe even earned their support, but instead she insulted them by acting like they were beneath her. That's not just burning a bridge, that's setting it on fire and laughing while it collapses. The irony is that Meghan desperately needs allies. Without Hollywood backing her, her projects are just expensive dreams. And ignoring advice from people who know how to handle scandal makes her look reckless. The Kardashians thrive because they turn criticism into cash. Meghan drowns because she treats criticism as an attack instead of a chance to grow. It's no wonder insiders are whispering that Kim and Kris are done with her. They offered her a lifeline, and she slapped it away.
Of course, she acted as if everything was finalised when in reality, she was nowhere near close. And she made that embarrassing title little Instagram video acting like she was sophisticated.
Every time Meghan Markle tries to rebrand herself as a polished businesswoman or a victim of unfair treatment, there's always some story from her past that creeps back to the surface. One of the earliest red flags was the whole Sussex Royal Instagram handle scandal. Someone else had registered the name long before Meghan and Harry wanted it, but somehow Instagram magically handed it over to them. People whispered that strings were pulled, rules were bent, and that the little guy was trampled so Meghan could have her shiny, picture-perfect royal brand. It was a move that looked more like bullying than branding, and it left a bad taste for those who paid attention. Then came the accusations of manipulation and self-victimization. Meghan has built a career out of claiming she's been wronged, and while some moments may be genuine, the pattern has become suspicious. Every criticism turns into a story about racism, sexism, or cruelty aimed at her, never about her own mistakes. It's a strategy that might have worked in the early days when people were sympathetic, but over time it started to feel staged, like a script she keeps dusting off and rereading whenever she needs attention. Insiders whisper that it's Meghan's go-to move: turn herself into the heroine of the tragedy and force everyone else into the villain role. Her business record doesn't exactly scream success either. From Archewell's questionable handling of funds to projects that start with fanfare and end in silence, Meghan's ventures often fizzle before they even find their footing. Charities go delinquent, events don't meet legal requirements, and companies she launches look glamorous for about 5 minutes before the cracks show. People in Hollywood notice these patterns, and when deals start disappearing or getting delayed, whispers of incompetence and carelessness spread fast. The shady reputation grows with every failure. To many, Meghan looks like someone who is constantly overpromising and underdelivering. It's not just about business mistakes, it's about the arrogance that comes with them. Instead of acknowledging failure, she spins a new story or blames outside forces. It's the classic move of someone who wants the power of a brand without doing the hard work to make it sustainable. And compared to Kim Kardashian, who has spent years proving her adaptability, Meghan comes off as dangerously unprepared. Hollywood thrives on gossip, and Meghan's name has become shorthand for someone who doesn't play fair. From snatching Instagram handles to brushing off legal requirements to acting like every criticism is a conspiracy, she has built a trail of red flags. And while she may think she can bury these stories under new branding and carefully staged interviews, the truth is they're catching up to her. People are connecting the dots, and the picture it paints isn't of a savvy entrepreneur. It's of someone who cuts corners and blames others when things fall apart.
She is like a narcissistic echo chamber in her head, her brand as ever, despite stealing an official coat of arms from a Spanish town. Netflix is livid. They are absolutely furious. Why? Because she lied.
If there's one thing Kim Kardashian has mastered, it's strategy. She knows when to push, when to pull back, and when to show humility. It's why she's been able to take scandal after scandal and still stand on top of a billion-dollar empire. Meghan Markle, however, seems to be painting herself into the opposite corner. To many, she doesn't come across as strategic at all, just stubborn, tone-deaf, and obsessed with her own image. The more she insists on controlling the narrative, the more people see her as self-absorbed rather than business-savvy. For years, Meghan relied on playing the victim card, and in the beginning, it worked. People wanted to believe in her fairy tale, the Hollywood actress turned duchess, who was bullied by the monarchy. But fast forward to today, and the public's patience has thinned. Every misstep is followed by tears, accusations, or stories of betrayal, and people are starting to roll their eyes. Sympathy has an expiration date, and Meghan has spent hers. Instead of winning hearts, her constant complaints have started to look like manipulation. Kim, on the other hand, thrives because she adapts. She faced massive backlash for cultural appropriation, owned up to it, and made changes. She gets dragged on social media, but uses it to her advantage, fueling her businesses instead of tanking them. That's the mark of a strategist. Meghan doesn't seem to understand that difference. She doesn't evolve. She just digs in deeper, convinced the world is wrong and she's right. And the more she does that, the more she loses credibility. The perception shift is brutal. Meghan once had the world's sympathy, but now, even former supporters question her motives. The tabloids may exaggerate, but Hollywood insiders aren't blind. They see a woman who refuses to learn, who alienates potential allies, and who seems more focused on proving her worth than actually building it. Meanwhile, Kim continues to show how you can survive scandal by listening, adapting, and moving forward. It's not about perfection, it's about growth. Meghan has shown none. What started as a fairy tale of glitz, titles, and global sympathy is beginning to look like a slow-motion train wreck for Meghan Markle. The cracks in her empire aren't just whispers anymore. They're glaring failures everyone can see. Charities tied to her name have gone delinquent, missing filings and raising eyebrows about whether they're even functioning properly. Netflix, once the crown jewel in her Hollywood plans, is said to be fuming after repeated disappointments and stunts that made executives question her reliability. And the public, once enchanted, is showing signs of fatigue. The same stories of victimhood that once earned her applause now draw eye rolls. The problem for Meghan is simple. She doesn't seem to learn. Every scandal becomes a chance for her to play the martyr, but never to grow. Hollywood has seen it all before, and they can smell when someone is recycling the same excuses. Unlike Kim Kardashian, who treats backlash like free market research and adjusts accordingly, Meghan digs her heels in deeper. She refuses to show humility, and that refusal has turned her from a sympathetic figure into someone people gossip about with disbelief. How does she keep messing it up? Has become the question whispered at Hollywood dinners. Behind the scenes, the mood is shifting. Netflix execs are reportedly questioning whether her projects are worth the constant drama. Without their backing, Meghan and Harry lose their biggest platform. And it's not like other streaming giants are lining up to deal with the circus. Hollywood insiders know reputation is currency, and Meghan's account looks overdrawn. Add to that the charities under scrutiny, and suddenly the polished image of humanitarian glamour starts to look like smoke and mirrors. The gossip gets spicier when you hear what people are really saying. Meghan's empire isn't crumbling because of outside forces. It's collapsing from the inside. Poor planning, arrogance, and an obsession with controlling the narrative have left her with no allies. Even those who once defended her are growing quiet, unwilling to be dragged down with her. In an industry where everyone talks, silence can be more damning than public criticism. The Kardashians figured that out years ago. Meghan, though, seems oblivious. The difference between Meghan and Kim Kardashian could not be starker. Kim takes hits and turns them into stepping stones. Meghan takes hits and pretends they never happened, only to get hit harder the next time. It's the difference between surviving scandal and being buried by it. Hollywood is ruthless, and it doesn't wait for anyone to catch up. Meghan thought her Duchess title made her special, but titles don't mean much in Los Angeles. Influence, adaptability, and results do, and she's running out of all three. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.